Let's just keep it real. The New Orleans Saints have no excuses losing this Sunday. We got all that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? Welcome in to another episode of Locked On Saints, your daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day. Every day. Big shout out to all you everydayers out there. Don't forget you can subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss the latest episode. And if you want to keep the conversation going, as well as take part in our exclusive film studies, Q&As, early access, and much more, you can become a Locked On Saints insider today by heading over to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSaints today to join a community I would love for you to be a part of. As always, I'm your host, Ross Jackson, at Ross Jackson Nola on your favorite social media, your New Orleans Saints expert, credential member of the media, Saints News Network, every Tuesday on the Locked On NFL podcast, and here with you every single Monday through Friday, and then some on Locked On Saints. Today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks, the easiest and most fun way to play daily fantasy sports. Check them out today at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and enter the promo code in all lowercase LockedOnNFL so that you can get a first deposit match up to $100. On today's live episode here of Locked On Saints, appreciate everybody being here live or for catching the show later, and I thank you very much whether it's your first time or your next time. We're going to be taking a look at the Saints injury update. I'll give you an idea of some of my thoughts around the offensive line and how the New Orleans Saints can go, because they'll have another opportunity to maybe look at another shuffle, maybe a whole new brand new lineup of offensive linemen. We're also going to take a look at how the Saints do have something to prove here against the Chicago Bears and why they're giving every indication that they're taking it that way. But first, look, the New Orleans Saints have no excuse to lose this weekend. Let's just be real. You know, the Saints aren't going to treat it that way, right? The Saints are going to look at the Chicago Bears and say, we're not underestimating the Chicago Bears. They're not going to underestimate Tyson Bagent, the Division II undrafted free agent rookie quarterback that's replacing Justin Fields. Good, fine. They shouldn't. I ain't got to be that way. I ain't got to do that. I can come out here and say straight up that this team has no excuse but to win this game this weekend. They are the better team that will take the field. They are a healthier team right now that's going to take the field. The Chicago Bears, without at least three key pieces of their defense, Tremaine Edmunds, Jaquan Brisker. So Tremaine Edmunds, the hyper-athletic linebacker formerly with the Buffalo Bills. Jaquan Brisker, a guy that was drafted one pick before Alontae Taylor, a guy that we covered here on the show a ton on Locked On Saints because we really liked him as a fit for New Orleans. They drafted him. He has been a big part of their defense. He is out. And then Terrell Smith, who, if I recall correctly, has the third or fourth most snaps amongst all cornerbacks on that Chicago defense. They're all out. They're all gone. And they're not going to play this weekend. You don't have Khalil Herbert. You don't have Justin Fields. That impacts their run game, Chicago's run game. You have this undrafted free agent Division II rookie quarterback. That factors in, going up against one of the best minds on the defensive side of the football in the NFL as a coach in Dennis Allen. Really, really good players on that defense. And the Saints, on the other hand, are majority healthy. The only player ruled out for this week is Ty Summers, who plays a key special teams role. But you've also got Nephi Sewell. You've got other guys that can step in and that can be that special teamer, right? So seeing where the Saints are going into this game, there just ain't no excuse. Like, they got to go out there and they got to win this game. And winning this game proves something big time. First of all, it kind of allows the team to kind of get over this hump of losing games that they should win, or the perception of a team that loses games that they should win, right? Like, this is 100% one of those games. Last year, we saw the team drop games to teams that a lot of folks said that they should have beat. This year, they should have beat the Green Bay Packers by all intents and purposes with a 17-0 first half lead, all those other things. So this really gives them an opportunity to be able to prove something. And they do have something to prove here. They have to prove that they can be that team. they also have to prove that last week's game, the win over the Indianapolis Colts, wasn't a fluke. That it wasn't just the one kind of peak on the roller coaster before it kind of dives back down for the thrill part of the ride, right? You don't want the thrill part of the ride on the way down. Give me the thrill part of the ride on the way up. That's the football season roller coaster that I want. And so for me, when I look at this team, a team that has consistently won a game, lost a couple games, won a game, lost a couple games. They're back on track doing it again here this season. They won 2 games, lost 2 games, won a game, lost 2 games, won a game. Now do they have the opportunity here to win another game in a row and get that winning streak that they had toward the end of last season, where they almost won 4 games in a row, dropping an inexplicable game. Talk about games that they should have won and teams that they should have beat. The Carolina Panthers to close out the season last year, right? Like, that's exactly what that game was. And so for the Saints, here's a chance for them to show that they can be consistent and that they didn't just find success up out of nowhere, and that instead they have a reliable, sustainable way to win games. And I think everything that you look at when you look at the Indianapolis Colts win shows you that there is a reliable way for this team to win, a sustainable way for this team to win, in a way that we haven't seen over the course of the past year and a half. I might even lump in 2021 with that, maybe last 2.5 years. And so I very, very, very much think that this is the game that the New Orleans Saints get a real opportunity to prove that they are who they keep saying that they can be and want to be, and they have no excuse but to prove that. They are the better team. They are the better coach team right now. Like, you look at Matt Eberflus and that Chicago Bears team, not well coached. No matter how you feel about the New Orleans Saints coaching, better than what's going on in Chicago right now. Chicago ain't even got a defensive coordinator because they have Matt Eberflus do all of it, right? So I like the New Orleans Saints' chances in this game. You all clearly like the New Orleans Saints' chances. We have we're piling on more and more votes right now in the poll, but we've got 92% of folks choosing the Saints to win this game. So very clearly right now, there's a lot of confidence around, and not only is there a lot of confidence, but there's a high expectation for this team to win. And remember what Mickey Loomis said just 2 weeks ago on WWLAM when he was on the radio station there, that everyone should have high expectations of this team moving forward, including the fan base. So you should have high expectations. The Saints will have high expectations of themselves. I have high expectations for the Saints. Media has high expectations for them at this point. And if they come up short on that, they have to answer those questions. And they'll have a lot of questions to answer if they don't win this game against an injured, a not very good, and a beatable Chicago Bears team. And a system and a scheme on both sides of the football that Chicago relies on, that New Orleans is built to compete against and built to beat. There's no excuse. The New Orleans Saints absolutely should win this game this weekend. And I look forward. I'm gonna keep with the positivity. I look forward to watching them do it. I look forward to Chris Olave helping to lead the way. I look forward to what might be Derek Carr's best game as a New Orleans Saint, following up his best game as a New Orleans Saint against the Indianapolis Colts. I look forward to the New Orleans Saints proving that they can be consistent and proving that they found a sustainable way to win. If they could do that, things get really, really exciting. Like, you got to understand that too. Like, things get really, really exciting for the rest of the season because they have one good team left to play, the Detroit Lions. That's it. You got an injured and beat up Minnesota Vikings team after this in Minneapolis. You got a bye week. You're going up against an Atlanta Falcons team that doesn't know who their quarterback is. Tampa Bay, who they shouldn't have lost to in the first place, but hey, here's an opportunity, right? They've got the Rams on the road. Not great, right? So, like, there's real opportunity here for this New Orleans Saints team if they can find a sustainable and consistent way to win, to be able to replicate that throughout the majority of the rest of the season, going up against a poor schedule and a bad division. Coming up next, I'm going to give you the update on the injury report, okay? And we're also going to give you our thoughts on the offensive line going into this game. What can they do? What might they do? What I think they'll do? That's what we're going to break down as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest and most fun way to play daily fantasy sports. Earlier today, I put in my all Alvin Kamara projections, right? Pick 2 to 6 players. I was able to do it all with Alvin Kamara. They give you a bunch of projections. You just use more or less than those projections. Alvin Kamara going to have more or less than 53.5 rushing yards. You're going to have more or less than 93.5 all-purpose yards. You're going to have more or less than a half touchdown, right? Will he score a touchdown? Will he not score a touchdown? That's what you do. It's that simple, right? You use your football knowledge against the house. You get those right. You go to 25 times your money back. So once you go and check them out today, it is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and into the promo code LockedOnNFL in all lowercase for a first deposit match up to $100. It's a first deposit match up to $100 by going to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and entering the promo code in all lowercase LockedOnNFL. PrizePicks, your place for daily fantasy sports. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. Y'all know. You already know how much I love DoorDash. I might use DoorDash again tonight because I feel like it. Even though I did cook earlier today. And actually know, not tonight, but tomorrow while I'm watching college football. I'm going out to dinner tonight. So I'm going to be watching college football with the homies. So we're gonna use some DoorDash, get some pizza, maybe check out G's Pizza, for instance, here in New Orleans, all that. And it's fantastic. They even do groceries too. So if I wanted to cook something up, whip something up, I can do that through DoorDash as well. So let me help you out because you got to check out DoorDash too if you aren't using it. I'm going to help you get 50% off of your $10 value, up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. All you got to do is download the DoorDash app and enter the promo code LOCKED23, LOCKED23. Use the numbers, right? 23. Subject to change, terms apply. Once again, that is 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order by downloading the DoorDash app today, entering that promo code LOCKED23. Exclusions apply. Subject to change, terms apply. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. Let's wrap up this live episode of Locked On Saints. We're on and popping here. Take a look at this New Orleans Saints game. And look, this is a game that feels like a bit of a trap game, right? Like this is a game that the Saints should win. Will they go out there and win? That's the big question that they've got to answer. But I do think they have everything that they need to be able to get it done. And I think a big part of why they have everything that they need to get it done is because of how healthy this team is. Remember how we were talking about this team at the end or at this point in 2022? Like the injury reports were, 80,000 people long and all that. And this person was out and that person was out and this person was questionable and all that. Well, everything's going great for New Orleans health-wise right now going into this game. Now, it's going to be hard to keep that up going through the season. Let's just be real. Injuries happen in the NFL and eventually the Saints are going to be hit. But for right now, they're looking really good going into this game. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at here. I appreciate you as always for coming through and making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day every day, whether you're here live or you're here later. I appreciate you very much for checking us out. All right, let's take a look at the New Orleans Saints injury report here. So this is really simple, right? There's only one player out. It's Ty Summers, who comes in, mostly serves as a backup linebacker and also a special teamer, right? And helps out quite a bit on special teams, but with Zach Bond and Nephi Sewell and just the immense amount of special teams talent and the fantastic coaching of guys like Darren Rizzi and Phil Galliano, like these guys are all prepped and ready to be able to fill in for something like that. So the next man up mentality on special teams ain't even nothing you got to ask questions about at this point. So Ty Summers is the one and only player that is out for this game for the New Orleans Saints. Chicago, I mentioned all the players that were out. You got Tremaine Edmonds out. You got Nate Davis out. You got Terrell Smith out. You got Jaquan Brisker out. And then Justin Fields lands on the list as doubtful, but even if he were to play, he'd probably be like healthy enough to be an emergency backup, but not healthy enough to start. Tyson Bagent's the starter in this game, unless they do something crazy, wild, wacky. But in order to do that, I believe Justin Fields would have to at least be elevated to questionable tomorrow. Doesn't feel likely, right? So for New Orleans, the only other two people that pop up with a game designation are Malcolm Roach and Kendre Miller, both of which listed as questionable. Malcolm Roach was questionable because he popped up as did not participate in practice on Thursday because of that illness. Like that bug is still running around. He was back up to limited on Friday. I expect that he'll play, even if it's a little bit limited in terms of his snaps. But with that rotation and everything, I think he'll be fine. And then Kendre Miller popped up on Friday today, DNP. Now remember, Michael Thomas kind of came up on the late injury report. He was a late add on Saturday, which I wouldn't be surprised if somebody pops up tomorrow as that illness continues to run through. But as of right now, he pops up as questionable going into the game. Michael Thomas popped up on Saturday, still played the very next day on Sunday. So, and with Jamal Williams and Alvin Kamara ahead And with Taysom Hill helping out in the run game and all that, Kendre Miller's not going to be asked to do a ton anyway, but he's going to be asked to mix in and contribute and all that other stuff. But if he's a little bit limited, that's okay. That's all right. You know what I mean? They could take it easy with him. So this is a healthy team, the New Orleans Saints. James Hurst is set to be back. Dennis Allen said today during his post-practice media availability that James Hurst was going to be up and available. And so that leads me to our closing topic here. How are the New Orleans Saints going to reshuffle their offensive line if James Hurst is back? Is he going to jump back into the starting lineup, or is he going to be kind of that jumbo tight end or that jumbo like sixth offensive lineman? And as well as Max Garcia has played, there's a real consideration, I would imagine, to have James Hurst back in as your starting left guard, because that's the guy you started with week 1. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Saints go about this. Now, Andrews Pete at left tackle, Max Garcia at left guard. But last week when they got Ryan Ramczyk back at right tackle, and nothing's shifting when it comes to Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz at center and right guard. But when they did that, they performed pretty well up against a mediocre at best defensive line in Indianapolis. Like, let's be real. But even against Jacksonville, like, they gave up a ton of pressures. Like Andrews Pete, for instance, was credited as giving up 10 different pressures in that game, but only gave up 1 sack. Everything. So, like, you can manage it a little bit if you got the pressure, but you can't let the pressure impact you too much. So really, you just want to keep it all away. Saints only gave up 4 pressures last week against the Indianapolis Colts. And that's, again, though, that's a Colts defensive line that's like, okay. And the Chicago Bears defensive line so far has been a little bit better, I would say, than the Chicago offensive line or defensive line. However, now they just added Montez Sweat back, and make no mistake about it, Montez Sweat's going to be out on that field on Sunday. He's going to be out there lined up probably over Ryan Ramczyk, ready to go. And so he's going to have his impact in the pass rush. He's going to have his impact more likely in the run game too. So the way that I look at the way that the Saints could go with this is they could go and maintain the exact same starting lineup that they had last week. Going from left tackle to right tackle, Andrews Pete, Max Garcia, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, and then Ryan Ramczyk. Make no change at all. I would understand if they did that because James Hurst is just coming back. I would understand if they did that because that combination performed well last week. But the other way they could go is having Andrews Pete and James Hurst back over on their left side. And they could do that by keeping Andrews Pete at left tackle or by keeping James Hurst at left guard. Here's why I hope the Saints keep Andrews Pete at left tackle. Because if the Saints keep Andrews Pete at left tackle, and if they continue with this for a couple more weeks, when Andrews Pete hits the market this offseason, he hits the market looking for left tackle money, and his representation looking for left tackle money. That's great for him. That's great for him wherever it is that he lands. It also probably prices him out of New Orleans' price range, right? And so the reason why I like that for New Orleans is because they have to make some changes on the offensive line going into next year. Like, whether it's in depth or whether it's looking for a new left tackle, like whatever it is, like whatever's going to happen with Trevor Penning is going to happen with Trevor Penning. But whatever it is that the Saints are going to do, like, they have to really reevaluate what they're doing on the left side of the offensive line. So either that's Trevor Penning and a new left guard, maybe that's a new left tackle and a new left guard. I don't care what it is. But at some point, something's got to happen over on the left side of that offensive line, and it's got to happen this offseason. And so if Andrews Pete goes out, and if he's smart, and if his representation is smart, which they are, he played left tackle, they're going to go out and get left tackle money. They're not looking for left guard money anymore. That is in the past. That's in the past. Once you play left tackle, you're a left tackle. Boom, done. Because that's where it's going to get you paid, right? So if I'm his representation, I'm going out there and I'm at least trying to get a 1-year left tackle deal for my guy somewhere else, right? That's what I'm trying to do if I'm Andrews Pete's representation. And that could actually be a good thing for the New Orleans Saints, who need to revamp that side of the line anyway. And so for me, reimagining that left guard spot, potentially taking a look at bringing in at least competition at left tackle, that gets easier if Andrews Pete ends up pricing his way out to another spot. So that's the whole thing. And you know what? Also, good for Andrews Pete, right? Like, dude has struggled throughout his career here in New Orleans. He struggled to stay healthy. He struggled to produce all these other things. And if he can go out there and get a team to give him left tackle money, good for him, right? Earned it. Earned it. If he can get it, it means he earned it. Great, right? Somebody else can do that, though. For New Orleans, this gives them an opportunity to reimagine what has been the weakest part of their offensive line for some years now. And so I think that could work out well, kind of forgive the phrase, but, kind of I got a better phrase. Sorry, I got a better phrase. Kind of a blessing in disguise for the New Orleans Saints in that case. So I think that could all work out for them. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Andrews Pete at left tackle and let's say like James Hurst at left guard. I would be surprised to see Max Garcia at left guard, but I don't think that the Saints take Andrew Speed away from left tackle yet. I don't think that they do. And I think that that's what we'll see on Sunday, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll get an idea of what that looks like during like warm-ups and walkthroughs before the game and all that. All right, y'all. I'm going to say it again because it's true. The New Orleans Saints have no excuse. They got to win this game on Sunday. So I appreciate all you everydayers out there making Locked On Saints your first listen and for your first listen every day, each and every day. Next time we'll see you is tomorrow morning. We'll have or tomorrow afternoon. We'll have our In Case You Missed It episode. I'll get you my 5 biggest takes from the week to get you caught up on everything you need to know before Sunday's game. And then after Sunday's game, win or lose, I'll be out there on the Superdome floor. We'll be live and we'll do our postcast to get you there. But I'm saying, man, you got to go get this win here. You got to go get this win. So I look forward to, I'm going to put that positivity out there. I look forward to talking to you all again after the win at our next live show. So I appreciate you very much, as always, y'all. And just to update everybody on the poll, 94% of the folks in this chat believe that the New Orleans Saints are going to win. Send me your predictions. Let me know what you think this game is going to look like. I appreciate you, as always, making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day, every day. I thank you very much for making us a part of your day, a part of your routine, for saying yes to me and the show. As always, if you see me, please say hi. Big shout out to the homie Kef, who took the time to say hi today. I still got you on that show, homie. Don't you worry about that. And of course, if y'all need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you're living. Let me know how you're momming them. And trust Who Dat Nation, I'll holla at you.